I'm going to take just a quick look. There's not a lot of news today. I could talk about Germany, but I don't want to. It's like it's very interesting. Everybody keeps talking here about how unpopular Trump is, but Trump is actually more popular than the people in Germany who kind of represent the establishment that he's replacing. And the German coalition, Merkel's German coalition, is falling apart. And they're afraid to have another election because the right wing is on the rise. And in Germany, the right wing is not like our right wing is going, Constitution, freedom. Their right wing is like, kill everybody. So they're a little bit more nervous about that. The only thing that really did happen is Trump was on his way off to holiday, and they stopped him and they peppered him with questions about the Roy Moore thing. And he had two things to say where he took a stand, but it's not the stand the press is saying he took. What he took a stand where first he said that, he said that Moore denies it. So play cut 5 first. And he says, he doesn't know it's true.
Is an accused child molester better than a Democrat? Is an accused child molester better than a Democrat?
He denies it. I mean, if you look at what is really going on and you look at all the things that have happened over the last 48 hours, he totally denies it. He says it didn't happen. And, you have to listen to him also. You're talking about, he said 40 years ago, this did not happen. So.
And then he said this about who he wants to see in the Senate is cut 4.
I can tell you one thing for sure. We don't need a liberal person in there, a Democrat. Jones, I've looked at his record. It's terrible in crime. It's terrible in the border. It's terrible in the military. I can tell you for a fact, we do not need somebody that's going to be bad on crime, bad on borders, bad with the military, bad for the Second Amendment.
So you heard what he said, right? He said Moore denies it. He's not saying the women are lying. He's just saying Moore denies it, and he likes him better than the Democrat. So here is Morning Joe, and this is typical. I picked this out only because it's typical of the news reports. Here is Willie Geist on Morning Joe, cut number 7, reporting what you just saw.
Talk about the politics of this. Think about the morality of it. Just put the race aside for a second. You have the President of the United States now saying clearly and out loud that he takes the side of Roy Moore. He takes the word of Roy Moore versus the word of the 9 accusers. He made that very clear yesterday. So if your moral code doesn't dictate that you come out strongly against someone who's been accused of these things, maybe a political strategic argument would prevail on the president, which is that you win this seat, this Senate seat for Roy Moore. It's a Pyrrhic victory because you will be saddled, as you all have just said, as the party of a pedophile for the rest of Roy Moore's term. And by the way, the president will be saddled with that. Say, you stood up in this moment of truth. You stood up and took the side of an accused pedophile.
So was that me? I mean, I didn't see that happen. Look, he's playing. Look, Trump is being a politician. He's playing this in a political way. He could take the high ground and say we always are going to believe the women and all this stuff. But he says, I don't know. And as long as I don't know, I would prefer not to have a Democrat. But he certainly didn't endorse Moore. And he certainly didn't do what guys, the other guy, John Heilman, he was Mark Halperin's partner, also on Morning Joe. But they did this thing together called The Circus or something for HBO where they followed the election. And he goes on and he says Trump identifies with Roy Moore. I thought, how the hell do you know what Trump identifies with? What are you reporting from inside his brain now? It's like you're reporting, yes, I'm inside the president's brain and he identifies. I thought, do you identify with Mark Halperin? It's like, it's utterly ridiculous. But the only other cut I want to play from yesterday was that Moore's opponent, Doug, Jones, he's on with Chuck Todd and talking about the fact that he is an abortion extremist. I mean, he believes in abortion basically until the kid's like 18, I think, is when, you can just blow him away. So this is the opponent. See, this is the thing. All year long, we've been listening to the left tell us how awful we are for endorsing Trump, as if his opponent had been Abraham Lincoln. His opponent was this creepy little crook who has been lying to us for 30, 40 years. And, even if you hate Donald Trump, the choice was between those two people. So here's the other guy in this story. Listen to what he says.
What are the limitations that you believe should be in the law when it comes to an abortion?
Well, look, I am a firm believer that a woman should have the freedom to choose what happens to her own body. and I'm going to stand up for that, and I'm going to make sure that that continues to happen. I want to make sure that as we go forward, people have access to contraception, they have access to the abortion that they might need, if that's what they choose to do. I think that that's going to be an issue that we can work with and talk to people about from both sides of the aisle. It's one of those.
But you wouldn't legislate, so you wouldn't be in favor of legislation that said ban abortion after 20 weeks or something like that?
Now, I'm not in favor of anything that is going to infringe on a woman's right and her freedom to choose. That's just the position that I've had for many years. It's the position I continue to have. But when those people, I want to make sure people understand that once a baby is born, I'm going to be there for that child. That's where I become a right to lifer.
If you can live through the pregnancy, Doug is there for you. If you can survive these people. I once saw Michael Caine receive an award from critics. I always remember this. I was at the award ceremony, and he received an award from critics. It was the Critics' Award at the end of his career, basically. He was, already 80 or something like this. And Caine said, "This is like receiving an award from snipers for having survived the war." So that's like having Doug Jones on your side as long as you don't get aborted 10 minutes. A baby was just born 21 weeks, and was viable, was kept alive, and is now doing very well. So what the hell is he talking about? He's talking about killing babies. So, it's like a hard choice to make. I do believe many of the accusers of Roy Moore. They seem really plausible to me. But this guy, it's like, they're calling him a pedophile. Fair enough. But this guy's a child killer. I mean, why is that any different? I don't understand exactly how that changes anything.